it's Barb, Meeple PhD, bringing you my top 10 favorite played games during 2021. These aren't necessarily games that came out in 2021, just games that I've played during 2021, which means there are some old favorites in this list and a few new ones that came out last year. So with that, let's begin. Number 10 is Canvas. Canvas is a card crafting game where players are drafting elements that they will put together into a masterpiece painting. It's a fairly basic drafting mechanism, kind of like Century and Century Golem Edition, where you have a row of cards. If you don't want the first one, you have to use one of your inspiration tokens until you grab the one that you want. Eventually, you're going to run out of inspiration tokens and are stuck with the first one. But after drafting, and once you have at least 3 cards, you can paint a painting. And in fact, when you have 5 cards in hand, you have to paint a painting. You have different goals that you are going for each time. Down at the bottom of the cards, there are different colors that represent different hues that you're putting into your painting, I guess. And they can have different symbols associated with them. And you are looking for matching different symbols together, or having a variety of symbols, or making sure that there's something in every one of those color slots. It's different for each game, and you can mix and match the different goals. I was surprised at how thinky this game was. It is super cute, very pretty, and with that simple drafting mechanism, I expected the rest of the game to be super simple. But I found myself agonizing each time I painted one of my paintings, trying to figure out the right combination of the cards in my hand to maximize the points and the number of awards that I got for that painting. One of my struggles in this game is drafting cards that I think are really cute or cool instead of the ones that will help me gain points. But that's my problem, not a problem with the game. I have really enjoyed our plays of this game. We get it out when we're waiting for a dinner order, or at the end of a night when we want just one more game but aren't ready to commit to something large. So that's my number 10, Canvas. Number 9 is The Loop. The Loop is a cooperative game where players are working together to defeat Dr. Foe, who is time traveling through all of the eras in history and the future, dropping duplicates of himself. This is a somewhat standard cooperative game where things get worse and then you take player turns and then things get worse again. But I was really drawn in by the theme, the art that has this beautiful retro style art, and the puzzle of you're moving around a track or around the different eras, rather than around a map. And that just presented an interesting problem that I've really enjoyed playing and trying to figure out. We've probably lost more than we've won, but we always have a blast playing it. So that's why that's my number 9, The Loop. My number 8 is Carnival of Monsters. Carnival of Monsters is a card drafting game where players are taking on the role of explorers, exploring distant lands and bringing back fantastical monsters to create a menagerie to share with the public. That's a lot to say, but it's really a basic drafting game where you're grabbing a couple cards and passing your hand on to the next player. You need to first play lands out into your tableau, and then you can start playing monsters that inhabit those lands to try and grab them and bring them back home. At the end of each round, some of the monsters have danger on them, and you have to mitigate that somehow, either by having cages in your play area, or a hunter who can help you with that, or you have to pay money. So there is a little bit of interest at the end of each round, but it's just a really fast, kind of standard drafting game, but I love the art. I love how quick it plays, and it gives me the feeling of Bunny Kingdom, but without the huge board and all the little pieces involved with that. So that's why this is my number 8, Carnival of Monsters. My number 7 is Underwater Cities. Underwater Cities is a worker placement and card playing game where players are building up tunnels and cities and the facilities to power them in an underwater network. I love the tension of this game. The first few rounds you feel starved by materials, and then you go through this production phase and you feel like you have everything you need, except that it runs out within a round or two until you get another production. I also really like the worker placement mechanic here, where you are placing your worker into one of 3 color areas and playing a card. If the card matches that color, you get the benefit of the card. If the card does not match that color, you just discard it without getting the benefit. So there's always this push-pull of, well, I really want the benefit on this card, but I need to play in that spot. So do I take a lesser worker placement spot in order to get the card, or do I play a lesser card or no matching card in order to get the spot that I really need? And if I wait one more round, is someone else going to get the spot that I really wanted? It makes for some very interesting decisions. And I just love every game that I've played of this, even if it's a little bit frustrating at times. So that's why that is my number 7, Underwater Cities. My number 6 is Imperial Settlers: Empires of the North. Empires of the North is a card-driven tableau building game where players are each taking on the role of a clan leader trying to build up the best empire in the world. I really love this game that each deck that you play, each clan that you play, plays a little bit differently. You might have one strategy where you are trying to collect resources on your cards and then move them around, or other strategies where you're going out and trying to conquer new lands in order to maximize your points. And every single deck is a different puzzle to try and work out. For me, that's why I've gotten this to the table so many times. I love trying to master one deck, and then once I feel like I grab another deck and try and master that one. And for that reason, Imperial Settlers: Empires of the North is my number 6. My number 5 is Meadow. Meadow is a card drafting, tableau building game where players are representing a walk that they've taken through nature by the cards that they play in front of them. You start by playing foundation cards that are different land types, and then on top of that you can play flowers and animals and houses and fences and different types of things that you might see if you were out on a walk. The art in this game is absolutely gorgeous, and every single card is different. And in fact, if you're curious about a card, there is a reference book that lets you find out a little bit more about the animal or flower that is represented on that card. The drafting mechanism is an interesting one. I know it's been done in other games, but this is the first one that I've played with kind of the grid drafting mechanism, where you have a little fence post marker that you're slotting in somewhere that tells you which card you can draft. In addition to that, those little action tokens can be played on a different board in order to get yourself a few extra cards, or so that you can draft any card you want on the board. And in addition, get some bonus points if you've collected the right types of symbols in your tableau. So there's this push-pull between, do I draft more cards? Because when I play it on the main grid, I not only draft, I also get to play a card. But maybe I need that one special card in the grid that I just can't get any other way, and I'll play it on the other board, but then I don't get to play a card and I have to wait until my next turn. So I have really loved this game. It looks beautiful on the table, and for that reason, Meadow is my number 5. My number 4 is Space Base. Space Base is a dice rolling game where players get resources on everyone else's turn, depending on how they've built up their tableau in front of them. This is a Machi Koro style game, if you're familiar with that, where the active player rolls the dice and they get a benefit, and everyone else at the table can get a benefit if they have things in the right numbers corresponding to the die roll. This has become a comfort game for us. It's it's a longer game, so it's not quite a filler, but it serves the same purpose. We might want a longer game, but we just don't have the brain power for anything else. This is the one we pull out. We have fun rolling the dice, trying different strategies. Do I go for, we have the expansion for this, Shy Pluto, which adds some additional little dice. So do I go to that dice strategy and try and get all my points that way? Or do I go for a point strategy, which is totally bizarre, and get, put out cards that just straight up get me points on the board? Or do I try and buy more and more expensive cards in order to get those bigger and bigger rewards? This is just one of those games that we love playing. It's probably one of the most played games in my collection, and it's a favorite every time we bring it out. For that reason, Space Base is my number 4. My number 3 is Pandemic Legacy Season 0. This is the third in the Pandemic Legacy series, where this time we are spies going around the world trying to solve a problem. I'm not going to say much more than that because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. I have enjoyed all of the Pandemic Legacy games, and I've played 2 campaigns of each with 2 different play groups. And this was the year we were able to get back to one of my play groups with this. And so not only is it the gameplay that I'm enjoying and why it's so high on my list, but the fact that this is the game I've been able to get back to after the pandemic. Not that we're done with the pandemic, but once we all got vaccinated, we could kind of start getting together and testing the waters with broadening our bubbles a little bit more. And so part of this is just that feeling of finally having at least a little semblance of normalcy coming back into our lives. For that reason, Pandemic Legacy Season 0 is my number 3. My number 2 is Paleo. Paleo is a cooperative, card-driven exploration game where players are controlling Stone Age groups of humans who are trying to stay alive long enough in order to complete a mammoth cave painting, which will unite their tribe. I've actually talked about this one a lot on my channel this year, and that's because I've gotten it to the table a lot and really enjoyed every single play. This is a cooperative game that feels a little bit different. It doesn't have the same kind of pandemic cadence of, things get bad, players take turns, mitigate it a little bit, and then things get bad again. And over the course, it just gets worse and worse. Things aren't great in Paleo, but players have a little bit more control over when they face the bad stuff. And instead of it being really hard to, say, clear a board, you're just trying to get food, you're just trying to survive, and then sometimes bad things are thrown at you. This game comes with 10 different modules that you can mix and match. We haven't quite gotten through all of them, but I've enjoyed every single one that we've dug into and really liked the new, mechanics that they bring to the game and the new puzzles, like, oh, this time I need to really work hard on this other problem. Again, not going to tell you anything because spoilers, but just every single one brings something different, a little bit of a twist while still playing the same game. For that reason, Paleo is my number 2. And my number 1 for the year has to be Sleeping Gods. Sleeping Gods is a cooperative exploration game where players are wandering the wandering sea, trying to find totems in order to wake the gods in hopes of getting back home. This is a game that I've gotten so many plays of this year. It's been an immersive experience where we get into this story. The story is the game. Yes, there are game mechanics in there. You're, drawing fate to see if you succeed at different tests, and you have to battle different monsters. But it's the story that really drew me into this game. Trying to figure out, oh, we need to go over here to get this thing, but at the same time, we also have this quest that takes us on a completely other side of the map, and how do we decide which ones of those to do? And then when we play again, It's not just that we're doing different things. Yes, we are, but sometimes we do the same things but make a different choice, and that sets us on a different path. And that feeling of just having freedom to do anything we want on this board and explore and be different people every time we do it has just brought so much joy to this year and to my game table. And for that reason, Sleeping Gods has got to be my number one. So what were your favorite games for 2021? What did you get to the table a lot? What made you feel a little bit more normal this year? Leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, I'll be back again. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter as @MeeplePhD, and you can follow my blog at meeplephd.com. My number 6 is Imperial Settlers, Empires of the North.